This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock around. That's right.
On time.
It's tricky. It's tight. Here we go. It's tricky to rock around. To rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky. It's tricky. 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 It's tricky to rock around. To rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky.
Tricky. I met this little girlie. Her hair was kinda curly. Went to her house and bust her out. I had to.
The gang's all back. Don't worry. It was just one awkward week. Hopefully there won't be too many more of those in the future. We got Next Man Up. We are 3 weeks in to the NFL regular season. And my ultimate takeaway is that this is the most confusing time to be a football fan of any capacity in the world, really at all. So, I used to feel like I was kind of, I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I felt like I knew a lot. Now I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like a lot of people know the same amount that I know. And maybe it's like not that big a deal, but we have some big headlines to get to. We'll start there with breaking news around the league. We'll dive into fact or fiction, and we'll do fanboy FaceTime. But with me, as always, is Johnny P, Big Chris, Nikki G. What's the good word, fellas? How are we feeling after 3 weeks of NFL football?
This is the best I've felt in a while, I'll tell you that much.
What, like 15 years?
I think you're the happiest out of the four of us right now.
Probably. I mean, back-to-back weeks. I'm feeling on top of the world right now. Especially after that shellacking I gave you last Thursday there, Nikki.
Oh yeah, well, I told you I expected the Jets to win, so I'm not surprised about the outcome. But
I was expecting a slugfest, but the Patriots just forgot to show up.
Yeah, and I'll cover more of that in my reaction. But to Tony's point at the open of the show too, everything's upside down. The sky may be falling. I don't know. We can ask Chicken Little, but I saw something this week that kind of sums it up. The NFL's drunk after 3 weeks. The entire NFL is just drunk.
Basically.
Speaking of Chicken Little, how did you feel about some of the rookie quarterback performances this week, Johnny? Obviously, Caleb kind of took that step, but previously they were kind of looking like Chicken Little.
Yeah, there's clearly still some rookie mistakes. And speaking of rookie quarterbacks, I think Jaden Daniels had his official coming out party last night. I'm not sure specifically, was that more Jaden Daniels or the Bengals defense just isn't the Bengals defense that we're accustomed to seeing anymore. Regardless, nothing to take away from his performance last night. Jaden Daniels absolutely looked the part. Going to Caleb, and I'm going to speak a little bit about Caleb later on in the show. Every week, he has been getting better and better and better, despite the Bears being an absolute disaster. Shocker. Not surprising to everybody. But honestly, and Bo Nix took a huge step too, winning on the road in Tampa against a pretty good Buccaneers team that came out the gate swinging. So impressive stuff by a lot of rookies. I think better days are ahead for Drake May. I don't think he was put in like the best situation given the state of the game. Yeah, it was garbage time. So I don't think we could take too much away from Drake May. So a lot of good things for rookie quarterbacks this weekend, and I think we're going to continue to see that down the stretch here.
Yeah, it was the first time we saw that step forward for them, right?
A rookie quarterback hadn't thrown a touchdown until this week. It took 3 weeks for one of the rookies to throw a touchdown. Jaden Daniels had run for one, but we hadn't seen them throw one. And Caleb was the first one to throw one. Then Jaden Daniels followed it up with I think 2 or 3 passes last night, one to an offensive lineman.
Which was great. That was his first touchdown pass. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And the two of them showing why they were the top 2 picks in the draft, with their individual performances. Rome Odunze showing why he was a top 10 pick as well. But obviously, as Johnny said, we'll get to them and the Bears performance, but we finally had some performances from those quarterbacks.
Yeah, and with Caleb to Odunze, that's the first instance where 2 top 10 picks on the same team in the same draft class connect for a touchdown in the history of the league. So a really cool moment right there.
It's crazy.
And then they were both fighting over who gets the touchdown ball in the end, which is pretty funny.
Just cut it in half.
Yeah, they joked about cutting it in half. The ball went to Rome, so the next one, whoever it goes to, I think Caleb gets to have it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, to Chris's point, the first 2 weeks we didn't see any touchdowns from any of the rookies who are now getting more hyped and taken earlier than ever. We saw these crazy signing bonuses, and it's just going to continue to trend that way. Matt Stafford said this week. The NFL is an improbable business. Basically, his point was, I have no idea what's going to happen ever. They were very close to starting 0-3, very impressive comeback there on their part against a division rival. But that quote really stuck with me because here's a guy who's won a Super Bowl, been in the league a long time, for soon to be a Hall of Famer one day. I think we can all agree. And his opinion is that this is like a business where, especially as a player, you can't even really expect anything. Like nothing is going to happen that you would think it would. So, in other words, it is the most insane league built with no structure, insane parity, constant upsets and confusion that we've ever seen. And I think this past week really, really personified that in a lot of ways. And I think we're going to see that throughout the year. We're going to be like, oh, Jaden Daniels, he's amazing. The Commanders are great. The Bengals really stink. Watch the Bengals turn around and have a bounce back week next week. I mean, I don't know, maybe. Like, I feel like that wouldn't really totally surprise me or wouldn't really totally surprise anybody, but I thought that was going to happen last night. So,
And I mean, not even
what's it
just
all
this
mean?
week. I mean, we saw it the week before with Atlanta coming back against the Eagles in improbable fashion. So it happens, not just this week, but every week we see these sorts of comebacks. So it's impossible to really know what's going to happen. There's so much parity, as you said, with these teams. We see the defenses are definitely game planning for certain situations. We see the defenses are definitely being built up to stop the passing game, and we're definitely seeing a little bit more shift towards the run and the running quarterbacks, the emergence of them with once Lamar Jackson came on the scene. And, that could be why the passing yards are down around the league and kind of moving forward to one of the other topics we talking about. But, it's hard to tell. And, we've seen a lot of the kickers that were sure-footed, whether it be Justin Tucker, have we seen the decline of him? He was money from 50 plus, it's, Justin Tucker's going to make it. He's been one of the worst kickers this year. He's missed, I think, three kicks, from like 55 plus, which he was money from for his whole career. So it's hard to really gauge what is going on in the league, whether it's going to be one thing or another. And we see a lot of these teams that really just know how to get to each other. We see the Rams and the Niners. Those games are always instant classics when you think about it. That's those rivalry games. They always say throw the records out, throw the past out, and that was a prime example of it in that game especially.
It's constantly changing, and I think one thing I can guarantee is that we're going to constantly overreact to everything. I mean, week one, you talk to any Giants fan,
overreacting to things that never happen.
Well, this is a podcast. We're trying to kind of, this is a platform where we're trying to kind of maybe be objective. Kind of the goal. I mean, I don't know if we could. That's something I certainly strive for. And Giants fans, after week one, you would have thought that the world was like the sky was falling, like he said, like the world was ending. It's the end of the world as you know it. That was the feeling when the Giants lost the Vikings. And now you blink and you're like, oh, wait a minute. The Vikings might be the best team in the NFL and Sam Darnold might be the best quarterback in the NFL. I totally knew that 3 weeks ago. So I have nothing to really worry about now.
For the record, I did say look out for Sam Darnold before the season.
Yeah, it's just because you're a sad sack.
You want to hear something funny about Sam Darnold too? He is technically 6 months younger than Joe Burrow. So just a little random fact.
He has enough time to kind of completely turn around his career.
Very interesting.
Yeah, this could be 10 years of Sam Darnold greatness if they've struck gold, and you keep that room together with O'Connell and him. Who knows? Who knows? There's a lot.
Did Cousins start something in Minnesota? Did he start something there, or all of a sudden he just jacks up his career? Now it's going to happen to Darnold. Is this the? Are we going to call this the Kirk Cousins effect in Minnesota or something, or what happens here?
I think it
we
has
might
less
end
to
up
do
calling
about
it the O'Connell effect.
I was going to say, I think it has less to do with the players and more about coaching. If I've learned anything and if I've taken away anything from these first 3 weeks, coaching matters.
Mm-hmm.
Like coaching really matters in this league. Look at what Matt LaFleur is doing with Malik Willis right now. Like he's won 2 games in a row with Malik Willis, who no one has given him a fair shot. I mean, no one. no one thought, other than maybe Chris, that Sam Darnold would come out the gates the way that he has, and look what Minnesota's been doing. Kirk Cousins, it seems like he's kind of found himself in Atlanta. Seems like Raheem Morris and that coaching staff in Atlanta. I mean, they competed pretty well last night against the defending champ Kansas City Chiefs. So coaching matters. Like that's what I've taken from these first 3 weeks. That's what I've taken from these first 3 weeks.
110%.
A lot of overreaction, but like good coaching matters in this league, and good coaching is going to take teams and franchises to places that they want to be at the end of the year.
I couldn't help but give myself a little rose there because I got some crap on previous shows about Malik Willis being a dud when I was like, don't sleep on this Malik Willis guy, because I wanted the Giants to look into somebody like him. And now I feel somewhat rectified, but it's completely what Johnny is saying. It is related to the system, the coaching, the environment. There are certain franchises that you can just plug somebody in. Oh, the 49ers? Okay, we'll plug in the Mr. Irrelevant. He'll be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL before you know it. And people will just be like, is it the system? Blah, blah, blah. Just stop it. And then you have these terrible organizations that, like the Jaguars, who had a number 1 overall pick and took Trevor Lawrence. Like, you can't tell me Trevor Lawrence is a bad quarterback, but he's on the Jaguars. Like, how much of that is weighing on him, and how much of it is just the organizational structure?
You could throw the Bears into that category as well.
You can throw a lot of teams. It's not just the Jaguars and the Bears.
Panthers, Jets.
Look at the Titans. Why can't the Titans figure it out? Yeah.
Those are the teams that quarterbacks kind of go to die when you think about it. And then
Browns.
there's other teams that can revive you, whether it be right now, you look at the Vikings, the Seahawks revived Geno Smith. You look at Russ away from the Seahawks and he did nothing. You look at the Steelers and what they've done with their coaching. As Johnny said, coaching matters. I mean, we don't need to harp on it too much because, we don't need to say the same thing over and over, but it really does.
But then I'd say too, for the situations where you have those teams where it's like you said, the quarterbacks go to die teams. It may not just be coaching; it can also be the other guys on the roster. But then it can also stem to ownership and front office and just the whole environment built within the entire organization from top to bottom.
It's also just a very, very silly thing for us to always be analyzing, oh, this guy's the best, this guy's the worst. It's just too many factors in a football game. Like, I want to go back to something I said last season. I still feel that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL top to bottom. And everyone will say, oh, why? How can you not say Mahomes? Mahomes has one more. Mahomes absolutely has one more. Mahomes has been part of a better team. And that's always been my take with him, is that as good as he is, he's very much in the same category as Josh Allen. Like, it's not a question about how great he is. But I see Josh Allen doing so much more by himself on any given night. And it really just seems like it to me, like I think he's the best quarterback. But that it's a silly thing to even speculate because we all play fantasy football. If you go back and you look at the first 10, 12 picks that most leagues had, and you look at like what players are actually doing that level of first round production, you'll see a ton of inconsistency. And these are experts who analyze football and players and what they do at every level of statistics that you could imagine. Nobody has any idea what the hell's going on. That's my main takeaway. I don't know. But am I wrong? Is Josh Allen not the best quarterback in the NFL? Like right now, without even thinking, I'm going to start with Johnny. Can you name?
I think if you look at which player means the most to their team, Josh Allen, without a doubt, hands down, means the most to his team. The Bills do not function without 17. Like they are not the Buffalo Bills that we see every Sunday, Monday, occasionally Thursday nights. Like they're not the franchise that we've been watching the last several years without Mr. Allen. So to give credit to your point, Anthony, absolutely. And I'm starting to come over to your side because I think Mahomes obviously is special. He has the results, he has the wins. But I mean, everyone has counted Buffalo out this year, and look at them. They're 3-0. They absolutely dominated Jacksonville last night. I was telling Ashley on the couch yesterday, and I'm like, they need to take Allen out. Like God forbid he gets hurt. God forbid he gets hurt. Like it's just not worth it.
The first quarter.
Yeah, it's literally not worth it. I thought they were going to take him out even earlier. So absolutely, I'm really starting to come around to that fact. And he can lose Stephon Diggs, he can lose Gabe Davis, and he's still finding ways to win, and give him all the credit in the world.
And that
Top
speaks
three
to what-
quarterbacks and bottom three. And well, so I'm sorry, I didn't quite get to the whole question. So Johnny, let's think for a minute. Like if someone asked you, like, who are the three best quarterbacks? Who are the worst three quarterbacks in football right now that are playing week to week right now? Like, I feel like that was once a very easy question when we were younger. You know, you would say Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, okay, easy. Can of corn question. But now it's like, obviously a lot of people will say Allen Mahomes is the best, but Burrow was probably regarded as the third best a little while ago, and I don't think anyone can say that now.
It's honestly tough. I mean, because right now, I mean, if you want to look at it, it's like 1A, 1B with Allen and Mahomes, and then you got to put Sam Darnold into that conversation right now. He's playing that good.
I have the same top three
for Minnesota. I mean, Derek Carr, although he had a little bit of a more shaky start against Philadelphia. I mean, Derek Carr has played really, really well this year. He's been a Pro Bowler in this league before. And then, like we can be here for days talking about who's the worst quarterback, who's the bottom three guys. Is that mainly on the quarterback, or is that mainly on the system that they're in? Is it the coaches? Is it the environment that they're in? I think it's a little harder to officially announce who are the bottom three as opposed to who are the top three. So I think it's a hard conversation to have.
Subjective. Go ahead, Nikki.
Yeah, I mean, for that, I mean, I'd agree with Johnny. Same top three quarterbacks that in the league right now, especially with the fact that Sam Darnold is leading the league in touchdown passes. And again, I think it's just every week now we're finding new ways to be surprised that, like, really it's Sam Darnold, but again, Chris has called it from the beginning, so we'll just see how long Darnold continues to support his words on it. But I mean, I'd say for bottom three, yeah, it'd probably be a little more. I think if he wasn't benched right now, I'd say Watson would be in there. Will Levis is in there too. If he wasn't benched right now, Bryce Young. But I think that third spot is now left open. You could throw Lawrence in there. You could throw somebody else in, but it's kind of up in the air as to who's going to be that guy. You could throw Brissett in there too if you want.
I just wanted to hear you guys not say Daniel Jones. This is pretty nice to hear. Go ahead.
Daniel Jones has been playing very well the last couple of weeks, especially with having Malik Neighbors there. But another name I want to throw out there with not playing very well, especially with how he started out last season before getting hurt. Anthony Richardson has not been playing well.
Right.
He has been playing very poorly. They had a very winnable game this last week, and they got lucky. But sorry, Johnny.
No, none taken.
He did not play well. They won in spite of him. They really should not have won that game, but the Bears kind of let them have it.
Anthony Richardson completed 10 passes for no touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and the Colts still somehow won. We'll get to more of it later, but Anthony Richardson did not do the Colts any favors. I'm not trying to be biased here. Caleb Williams has a much better arm and is a lot more accurate than Mr. Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson is a tremendous athlete. He's a bowling ball of a running back with the ball in his hands, but seeing him oversail multiple balls on Sunday and still found a way to win, it's very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, he's a great combine quarterback. I wouldn't say when push comes to shove during the game, he's not the guy that you want with the game on the line.
I know it's unfair to put Bryce Young in that category, but I think Nicky's right. You gotta, if there are a bottom 3 tier quarterbacks, at least on my list, it'd be Will Levis, Deshaun Watson, and you got to put Bryce Young on there. Unfortunately,
that would be the 3 that I would put.
I'm not ready to put Trevor Lawrence down there. I think he's got talent. I don't want to have that conversation of putting him all the way down there. It's just unfortunate the Jags haven't won since September, October of last year. It's been a long time since the Jaguars won a game with Trevor Lawrence.
And they've also made the playoffs in 2 of the 12 years under the Khan ownership. So it's just it's been, and their last successful season, to my memory, was the season where they went to the AFC Championship game with Blake Bortles of all people and got upset by the Patriots in the end. I was at that game.
There's that. Well, they also had 21 with Lawrence, and they made the playoffs, and they had to come back.
They made the playoffs, and
but that's it.
That was the playoff. Where they came back. They came back in that one against the Chargers.
Yeah. Yes.
So that I would call that a successful season as well. But other than that,
mostly
they have
unsuccessful.
Really not that much.
So I mean, Go ahead,
You have to
Chris.
put Bryce Young in that bottom tier, as Nicky said, especially because they had the first 2 weeks they did nothing, and then Andy Dalton comes in and absolutely lights up the Raiders after their win against the Ravens. So you can't not say that Bryce Young is not in that bottom tier with Watson and Levis, because Levis just gives the game to the other team every single week.
It makes me sad that the second he gets, I mean, the guy's 2-17, and the first thing everyone wants to talk about is maybe the Giants can trade for him. It's just like people are so annoying. I mean, and I'm not saying Bryce Young won't ever be able to rectify his career, but the moment he's benched, that means his value has plummeted. That doesn't mean you want him. That's like the opposite.
I think his value plummeted before his benching too.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is it's just pathetic that everybody's just trying to find a diamond in the rough. Like, you got to actually love the person that you're bringing in. You got to actually want them there. And I think that I honestly, the one thing we haven't mentioned is psychology. I think just the psychological belief in your quarterback and just the psychological and emotional support, all of that, I think is a huge factor. Like how could Daniel Jones possibly feel knowing that the Giants would have totally took Jaden Daniels over him? And I think that anybody knows that, but it's got to hurt your feelings a little bit. And I don't know. I think
would
that's
have taken Drake May over him, allegedly.
Right. No, that's my point.
Or JJ McCarthy.
Well,
Well,
no,
no.
they had the chance to take JJ, and they
Because they
didn't.
could have took him, but they
This is
didn't.
also true.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just want to get through a few injuries before we go to fact or fiction. This is kind of going to tie into what we're already talking about. But obviously, Herbert. The big injuries are, I think, Justin Herbert and Devontae Smith. Sam Laporta got carted off at the end of the half, but then he came back and he battled through. Clearly not 100%.
Yeah, he has a low ankle sprain. They said he's kind of day to day. They're going to monitor it. He hasn't performed that well to start off the season, especially the way that he played last year. I don't know if he, burst onto the scene last year because he was a rookie and everyone kind of took him for granted and they was like, oh, we're caught on to him now. But that Lions offense has not been what it was last year. I don't know what it is, but they have not been as explosive as they were last year.
I put the indoor curse on Jared Goff and that Lions offense, really talking him up. Just take whatever I say and run the opposite way. So
you can also.
So we'll see what they do this week.
I was going to say, you can also throw Adam Thielen on that list now. I just got update from Yahoo that he's on the IR for the next 4 weeks with a hamstring.
Oh, it stinks for them.
That Devontae Smith play.
It sucks that happened.
Do you think they should have blown that dead, Johnny? You think they should have blown that play dead and Smith?
No, it's a tough play. It's a physical game, and Devontae Smith, is not the biggest guy. He's not the biggest physical receiver.
Why is he in the middle?
Yeah, it was a tough play. It's very obvious he got his bell rung a little bit. Just looking at that play, it looked like he got knocked off like a half second there or so. And Justin Herbert, I mean, talk about a guy battling through some stuff against a tough Steelers defense. I mean, that was not an easy game to go on the road if you're the Chargers. And I know he was already kind of hurting. Everyone was monitoring his status prior to the game, and then you got to go up against TJ Watt and that defense. I mean, oof. So I'm sure Herbert might be week to week. I'm not really sure what the status is, but the Chargers need number 10 if they want to go places this year. That's for sure. So
yep. And speaking of the Chargers, they also lose Derwin James for next week because he had a dirty hit on Pratt Freiermuth. He perpetually has these dirty hits, and they finally are suspending him for a game for.
I haven't seen the play, and I'm going to look at it right now.
Let's see what Johnny thinks of the play.
From the main camera angle, it doesn't look like it is, but then when you see it from a different one, you can definitely tell.
While Johnny's looking at, how do you guys feel about the NMU power rankings? Now, I mean, we're approaching the end of September. Do you guys feel like we should have our own power rankings? I mean, like we said, nobody knows anything, so it's going to change every single week. But it might be fun.
I mean, if you want me to tell you, I think the top 3 and bottom 3 teams are. I mean, top 3 teams.
Nah, 1 through 32 every week.
Every week.
Statistical,
you want me to make
with statistical explanations. Yeah.
I mean, if we're just going the top few, bottom few, I mean, top 3, I mean, if you ask me, I think Buffalo, especially after their performance last night, they are the top team in the league, in my opinion. I know that Kansas City, everyone's like, oh, Kansas City. But, they keep getting all these no calls. They get a lot of assistance, whether it's deliberate or not. They get a lot of no calls that definitely help them in their favor. And I don't know, as I said, I don't know if it's deliberate or not. They had a no call in the that should have been pass interference in the end zone yet again. And it's just like, is it bad officiating? or is it, something that is deliberate? Like, what do you guys think on that? First off,
I mean, did they
before
not
we go
win a
into-
Super Bowl because of a holding call on a like a subjective one with an ex-Giant Bradbury? I recall that pretty specifically. I mean,
Mhm.
listen, I don't want to sound ridiculous, but it obviously benefits the NFL for the Kansas City Chiefs to have success, and it doesn't mean that the Kansas City Chiefs are not successful on their own. Like, they are a brilliant organization, and in my opinion, the power rankings, you have to put them number one because they're the defending Super Bowl champions and they still win. So, like, until proven otherwise, they're number one.
I'd
Yeah, I
say
mean-
you can put them, because they're the defending Super Bowl champions. You could put them number one, but then you also look at something like in college football, where Michigan came into this year as the defending champions, but they're down in the top. They're top 10 or top 15 right now, and they're not ranked number one overall.
Yeah, but they've also
that's-
lost.
Obviously, that's
They
different levels
lost.
between-
Yeah.
They lost.
But regardless, even coming into the season, they weren't ranked at number one. But again, this
True.
is college and pros we're talking
Yeah.
about. There's a difference between the two levels.
Here's a simple way to look at this, guys, and why Kansas City is my clear number one. Not only are they the defending Super Bowl champs, cool, like it really isn't all that important, but when's the last time the Buffalo Bills have gone into Arrowhead and won a game? Until they do that, Buffalo's not
Tickets.
number one on my list.
True.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
until Buffalo is able to do that, they're not number one on my list. So I have
And
Kansas City, Buffalo, and then Minnesota to round out the top three.
Yeah,
I fully
tho-
agree with those.
Those are the three teams that I have. I mean, maybe
Same.
not in that order, but those are the top three teams that I have. And then bottom three, if you ask me, the Titans are the lowest of
32.
the low, in my
Mhm.
opinion. They are 32. I would say the Panthers are above them because they won a game. And then I would say that the Jaguars are probably 30 at the moment because they just can't get out of their own way, and they just are just putting up stinkers left and right. And I don't think that Doug Peterson makes it out of the season at this point.
Yeah,
That's
I
Yeah.
have for the teams. It's funny you have the Titans down there and Panthers. I'd agree with that. I'd throw the Browns down there in that bottom three, of three worst teams. I mean, it looks like
They
they're
beat
back
the
to being
Jaguars.
Browns. Yeah, they did, but it looks like they're back to being the Browns. That is the entire laughing stock of the league. But I
their
mean,
offensive line is in shambles, and whenever Watson doesn't screw up, he's getting killed. And I think that their run game is strong with the weak offensive line. They have good running backs, but they also have a strong defense. So I think they'll end up maybe 5-6 wins. I don't know if they'll stay in that low point, but they have very much really really struggled. But listen, we're way behind schedule. We got to get to fact or fiction. So I was going to say in my first fact or fiction, and I guess with our power rankings, we've almost teased that we don't agree, but the Minnesota Vikings are currently the best team in the NFL, and that will not change throughout the season. So power rankings, yeah, we go with the AFC teams. I mean, I guess it's just like make it interesting. Like the Vikings are probably the indisputable number one team in the NFC. Does anybody have any arguments there? Or maybe the Eagles, since they're nearly 3-0? Anybody want to
No,
argue that?
I think the Vikings are definitely the best team in the NFC right now.
Will they stay
I mean,
there then?
I don't think that they wind up staying there. I think that they wind up getting a taste of reality at some point. I think when the Niners get back to some more full strength, they will show why they were in the Super Bowl last year, and they wind up being the number one seed in the NFC by the end of the season.
Maybe a nice cold day in Soldier Field.
I-
They might
I
get
also
smacked
think-
around.
I also think that when the Vikings and Packers play, we'll see who really reigns supreme in the NFC North, especially because they're playing very well with Malik Willis at quarterback, and if you get
Mhm.
Jordan Love back and healthy, and that Packers team could be a team that could really cause some damage in the NFC. Johnny, I know that you hate to hear that, but I think that that's really a team to watch.
No, I mean, I loathe Green Bay with every ounce of my being. I do not hate a professional sports franchise more in my being than Green Bay, but I have to give credit where credit's due, and they have great coaching that gets the most out of their roster deficiencies. Like they don't have bona fide dudes, and they still produce. Why? Because coaching matters in this league. When Jordan Love comes back, Green Bay is going to be a problem for a lot of teams in the NFC. Also, mind you, I think the Eagles, if they ever decide to figure out that they're the Philadelphia Eagles again, the last time Minnesota has won,
Johnny, they're a
in
drop pass away
Philadelphia-
from being 3-0.
I
They're
mean,
drop pass away from being 3-0. They're bad
last
right
time-
now.
No, they're not bad at all. I'm just saying, like
What do you?
the
Yeah,
Eagles.
what do you mean?
I think the Eagles and the Niners, like it's early right now. I still
Mm-hmm.
think overall, I'd put my money on those two teams to be in the hunt and be legitimate contenders at the end of the year over Minnesota. Like the last time Minnesota went in to Philadelphia and beat the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field, you got to go back to like 2018. You know, like if it's up to me, I think Minnesota has done a really good job through these first 3 weeks. I want to see them how they really perform down the stretch. I really do. They need to prove it to me, not just through a quarter of the season so far.
No doubt. No
and that's
doubt.
not just being the Bears fan in me. I think Green Bay is more. I think Green Bay is more dangerous than Minnesota still. That's just me.
With love for sure. Nikki, the next one on the list, I'll ask you. Miami, fact or fiction? Miami is done without Tua at quarterback and should consider trading for Russell Wilson.
I think that makes a lot of sense for them. Because Skylar Thompson's hurt now. Now they got Tim Boyle as their next option.
Timmy Boyle.
So they need someone in there, and I think having a veteran of like Russell Wilson. I mean, granted, Chris made the comment earlier how he is now post Seattle, but at least have someone in there who can do a decent job of keeping them alive, because otherwise this team's going to go right down to the toilet and stay with my Patriots at the bottom of the division. Losing Tua has definitely hurt that offense. And if they do get someone like Russell Wilson, he's got two great talented receivers on that team in both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle that can help keep that offense in check. And but yeah, McDaniel and the rest of the team, they gotta make some sort of serious move to kind of help save their season. Otherwise, it's done.
Yeah, because speaking of Russell Wilson, he's their emergency quarterback every week. He's inactive, but he's healthy enough to technically play in a pinch. So
What's
why is
going
he
on?
still inactive?
Does
So
Mike Tomlin know Kyle Shanahan real well?
In my mind, they're just kind of putting him out to pasture without telling him, hey, Russ, you know what? We signed you at the veteran minimum. We don't want to tell you that you're not our guy. We're going to ride with Justin because he's gotten us to 3-0 and he's actually playing pretty well. So we want to play Justin. We just don't want to tell you that you're not our guy. So I think that
and his value stays high if he's not technically the loser of the quarterback battle.
Exactly.
Right?
So he technically didn't lose the quarterback battle, but he really lost the quarterback battle. And they don't want to tell him that. So put your tinfoil hats on. They're going to wind up trading Russell Wilson out of town. And I think that Miami makes a lot of sense because he's a quarterback with a proven history of winning. He won a Super Bowl. And I think
what do you
that
give
makes
up for Russ?
I mean,
what
you don't have
what
to
is
give
his
up,
value? What should Miami give up
right now?
If you're Miami, what are you willing to give up? A second rounder?
Give up what? Like a give up
second
like
round's too high.
Your season is toast. You have nobody.
Look
like
at
you're
this.
about to possibly go 3 and whatever.
You wind up giving up like a 5th round pick or something like that for him.
I would be sick to my stomach if they gave up a 2nd round pick. If I was a Dolphins fan, I would be sick.
I think they wind up giving up like a 5th round pick, maybe something conditional or something like that, like some sort of.
Call me crazy. I think he's worth a 3rd round pick. Because I know he's been destroyed emotionally and everything. I think he'd actually do better than Justin Fields. That's also what I think.
Healthy, and he was playing, maybe, but he's not playing.
He's healthy. Pretending he's healthy is how
if you're
I'm
pretending he's healthy and he's actually performing at a high level, sure, he's probably worth a 3rd round pick. But he's technically inactive, and he's not playing.
If he's able to play, he's healthy enough for me. So if he's emergency quarterback, that means you're able to play. So in my opinion,
I mean, you look at all these guys that have been traded for like a late round pick. You know, Santonio Holmes went to the Jets for a 5th round pick. So you have these guys that go for these late round picks that are actually very important players. So why not give up like a 5th round pick for someone who technically doesn't even have to play the entire season? Because as of now, Tua's not out the entire season. So you really just need someone that can fill the bridge until Tua comes back. So give up a 5th round pick, conditional 6th round pick for someone like Russell Wilson that can kind of keep you afloat for the time being. I think that makes perfect sense for Miami. But if they don't do anything right now, I think they're absolutely toast and they will not go anywhere.
Isn't Tannehill on the street? Like, why don't they kick the tires?
There are some free agents. You don't even have to give up anything.
But I think that he's very content being retired. I think he's like retired, but like unofficially retired. And he's very content being like a fisherman or something like that.
They probably should have been involved in the Russell Wilson sweepstakes when he was testing teams. I mean, they could have paid him $3 to $5 million. That would have been, more than what the Steelers ended up paying him. And you could have had a stronger backup for a guy who has a history of concussions. So a lot of this does come back to management. But personally, I still think Russell Wilson would be better for the Steelers than Justin Fields, mainly because look, they're winning it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mike Tomlin's going to ride that as long as he can. He understands that. But they're running an offense that is like an option offense. They could, George Pickens is so good. I don't they really, I think, could get more out of him if Russell Wilson was under center, or somebody like a drop back quarterback is under center. So that's just me. That's the route I would go. Third round is probably way too high for a guy that was gone through what he's gone through. But he is a Super Bowl champion, people. I mean, it's not like that didn't happen. I don't know. I don't know. Last one. A couple more. Buffalo and Kansas City are on a collision course to meet in the postseason again. Johnny is
1000%.
Duh.
Yeah. Next question. Yeah.
Next question.
Next question. Yeah.
Carolina Panthers are the worst team in the NFL. I say no.
Not
They have
after
a
their
pulse.
performance last weekend.
Carolina has
No.
a pulse now, and I give credit to where credit's due. Like Andy Dalton played a great game, and good for Carolina. And that was like such a classic Raiders letdown spot. Maybe like 10 minutes into the game, I sprinkled a little bit I put like $20 on Carolina money line. I'm just like, if Carolina's going to get a win, it's going to be today against a Raiders team that's probably not taking them too seriously. And definitely won that one. But
Do you think he has more magic to put Cincinnati to 0-4 this week? A nice little revenge game, Andy Dalton revenge game against Cincinnati.
is it in Cincinnati? Or is
that's-
it in Charlotte?
I don't know, but
I think it's in Carolina, I want to say.
Cincinnati's
What-
defense
what-
is being held together by duct tape and glue right now. I don't
It
know.
is in Carolina.
Elmer's
Wasn't
glue, not
Dalton
even
also
super
the
glue.
first quarterback for over 300 yards in a game this season?
That's part of the NFL being upside down right now.
The mighty Ginger is back.
There's something to be said about being a part of multiple teams, being an around the leaguer. Like the offensive coordinators, the lingo, the terminology. You've gotten beaten to a living pulp. You know what it's like to be booed out of a stadium. You've seen it all. You felt it all. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now with Darnold, Dalton, these revitalized, professionals who have just been through hell and back. Baker Mayfield's another great example. Geno Smith is up. Thank you. Like it's when these guys are getting touted as the best ever and immediately being determined that they suck before they're 24 years old.
No.
That's where a coach has to earn their money. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of these teams right now in the NFL. Last one, Chris, to you. Mike McCarthy and Doug Peterson will not last the entire season in Dallas and Jacksonville.
If you ask me, these are the two hottest seats in the NFL. Dallas is 1-2. Jacksonville's 0-3. These are two teams that I'd say coming into the season had some loftier expectations, especially in Dallas. I don't think that Dallas will keep Mike McCarthy the entire season if they are anywhere outside of the playoffs. If they're on the outside looking in and not going to make a playoff, I think Mike McCarthy is on a first-class trip. Not even first class. He is business. He is coach last row of the plane to Nowheresville. I think Jerry Jones will say, "Get out of here. You are just not my coach anymore." I think
Jerry Jones has been so
quick
frugal lately. This is unlike him.
Yeah,
I think that Jerry.
I think that Mike McCarthy might be the first coach fired this year if they, don't right the ship. And I mean, if the Giants win on Thursday, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't last past this week. So the Giants could be the nail in Mike McCarthy's coffin if the Cowboys
you lose
fall
to the
to
Giants,
1-3.
your career's over immediately. Obviously,
I think too with Jerry that we've seen it when Wade Phillips was in and Jason Garrett too. I think he keeps these head coaches around for longer than they should be there. And last year we saw those cracks in the armor with McCarthy, and now they're just even more noticeable this season. So it's his time is coming to an end in Dallas, and now you got to think: is Jerry going to go after a a guy like maybe Belichick or Vrabel in the offseason? Or does he look to the college ranks and try and stay in Texas with Steve Sarkisian at UT Austin? I mean, who knows what's going to happen moving forward with this? But he could be that first domino to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
amongst
because
the
Yeah.
coaches
we,
this
we were
year.
talking about McCarthy not making it to this season, and yet he's still there, and they start 1-2 in some pretty bad losses too. So it
Mhm.
would not surprise me if McCarthy doesn't make it, to the bye week at this point. So, and then Doug Peterson, you look at the Jaguars. Not only are they 0-3, they have lost in very bad fashion. Their offense has not done anything. This is the team that last year was leading the AFC South until I think it was like November, and then they didn't win a game. And then we're just like, what's going on with Jacksonville? And then this year they start the season just terribly, and then they get absolutely pounded by Buffalo last night.
Right.
And I'm just like, Doug Peterson, what's going on there? They make the playoffs his first season, and after that, they just fall off a cliff. So, as I said, these are, in my opinion, are the two hottest seats because these are veteran coaches with a history of winning that have both won Super Bowls, and they are not showing it right now with these teams that they've assembled. So I would not be surprised if these two coaches do not make it to the end of the season.
I would. I think they'll both survive. McCarthy, especially because he should be giving Jerry Jones the bird right now because Jones has been extremely frugal with a lot of his decisions, especially recently. Rex Ryan publicly made it out there on radio that he would have loved to be the Cowboys defensive coordinator. They just wouldn't meet his price. Is literally what he said. So is there salary cap for coaches that I'm not aware of? No, there isn't. That is entirely on Jerry Jones not wanting to spend money. And you'd think somebody who owns Jerry World would be willing to bring in a defensive coordinator. And you saw Mr. Derrick Henry run down their throats over and over and
We've already
over.
got the Derrick Henry stiff arm of the season 3 weeks in, and you think that usually comes later on in the season. We'll
We'll need our own power
Henry.
rankings for
Yeah.
stiff arms of Derrick Henry.
Maybe and maybe Jerry Jones just really isn't a foot guy like Rex Ryan. Like you ever thought about that?
Well, I think he's a different kind of guy based on how he
Based on the
evaluates
video
some
with
of his
Jamie Foxx.
talent.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
not go into that.
Let's
Yeah.
go there.
Perfect
Whoa.
timing
That's all I
for
gotta say about that.
fanboy face. That's all I gotta say about
Oh
that.
my God.
Perfect time about fanboy FaceTime. So
Power ranking transition number 1.
yes, okay. I think we should do the first ever combined fanboy FaceTime because it feels like ancient history. But on Thursday night, the Jets played the Patriots, and obviously both teams are feeling like kind of like polar opposites in terms of the direction of the season. I'll let you guys handle this one together. You can go double time if you want. I don't know. Who wants to start?
Oh, I'll rip the Band-Aid off on my end first here. I'll give the victor this best for last in this scenario. So I mean, it was just one of those games where everything the Patriots did, nothing worked for them at all. The offensive line was atrocious, letting up a total of 7 sacks. 5 of those going to Jacoby Brissett, 2 to Drake May, which May got the last 4.5 minutes of the game, garbage time. 4 of 8 completed for about 20 some odd yards. I mean, I think that was just a moment of let's get him some live reps here. Plus, Jacoby on the previous drive took another hit where he got up slow, and this is 3 weeks in a row now where he gets hit in the second half and he gets up slowly. But I don't think they're there yet where May's taken over this week against San Fran. But there are reports coming out of the Patriots practices that from both coaches and veterans that May is looking better and he is getting closer to being the starting quarterback. So they do expect him to start at some point this season, but unless Jacoby takes one really good hit on Sunday and he's out for the rest of the game, I still think that's going to happen mid-season. But another thing they got to do on Sunday, too, against San Fran, they have to win the first down game. And again, that and all other facets of the game, the Jets dominated. So, I mean, when that happens and nothing's sticking against the wall when you throw it at it, I mean, you just got to chalk it up and accept that. So, I mean, that's what we had this week. Now we're on to San Fran.
Chris?
Yeah, last Thursday felt like a changing of the guard. I spent 20 years of my fanhood just in the shadow of Big Brother for the most part. The last 20 matchups were a total of 18-2. And finally, it feels like the shoe is on the other foot. It finally felt good to watch competent quarterback play for the first time in my 32 years of existence. And it felt good. It felt so good. And I'm going to enjoy this for as long as I can. The Jets did something that I never thought was possible. They had a competent offensive game plan. They had 40 minutes of possession. They completely stifled the Patriots. It was just an absolute shellacking the entire game. It was just, it was all gas, no break. And they did not let up. I don't think they let up a touchdown.
Is that still the
right?
slogan?
Yeah, it was the only field goal. We had a chance to score a touchdown in the third, but 2 penalties and a sack later, we were punting.
Yep.
It's all gas, no break, still the
defense
slogan.
Yep. It was to start. I don't know if it still is, but that's what it felt
Sometimes you
like.
need
Was all
to
gas,
stop.
no break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that sounds like a bad idea. Sorry, go
Rodgers looked like vintage Rodgers. He was throwing the ball, I think, to 8 different receivers. Hall and Allen look like the best running back duo in the league. I think that, Mike Williams had his coming out party this week. I said every week they're just like picking someone else to finally have their coming out party. Mike Williams had some really nice catches. I think that, Alan Lazard, I'd like to personally apologize to you for calling you a bum after last season. You, sir, are more than welcome to be my wide receiver 3 on this team. You, sir, have, I think, the most touchdowns on the team, and you can keep catching, and you are only as good as Aaron Rodgers will take you, but I will allow that to be the Jets for this season. The defensive front was making a push. The defensive backfield was shutting down the receivers, and it was just a full team game from every aspect. And it was just, that's what this team was supposed to be. And it finally showed, and it feels good. Now this week, looking forward to Denver. This is a team that the Jets have for the last few seasons completely owned. Breece Hall has been the Broncos daddy for the last couple of years. He has had, I think, a 50-plus yard touchdown against them the last 2 seasons. So if you want to try, if you're a betting person and want to put money on a Breece Hall big play, I would say do that. Definitely a Breece Hall touchdown. But this is also the team that we've lost Elijah Vera Tucker in for the last 2 seasons. So let's hope that does not happen again this year, knock on wood. But this is a game where I don't want them to fall into the trap. The Broncos are coming off a big win, and the Jets are also coming off a big win. So I hope that we ride the momentum. This is 2 weeks in a row. Let's see if we can string together 3, and then they go into London the week after against the Vikings. So let's hope that we can ride the wave and keep it going.
Ride. Be careful. You're playing
the
Denver.
Broncos.
Okay.
Well, Russell
Let's
Wilson's
ride.
gone, so there's no riding in Denver.
Let's ride.
No,
Yeah.
there's none. No.
There's none. So let's hope that the defense can take advantage of the rookie quarterback and really catch him off guard. But this is the first time that I finally felt confident in the team going into the next week. So
you
let's
expect
hope
to
that
win.
this is the first time I finally expect to win in convincing fashion. So I feel good. I feel good going into this week, and that's the first time I've said that all season, I think. So let's hope I can keep that up.
And I'll see you in
You
week
sounded like you were testifying in court when I was like, "You expect to win," and you were like, "I expect to win." You're like, it's like something you're not supposed to say as a Jets fan.
I said I got choked up. That's something I
Emotional
haven't
moment.
been able to say for years. Okay, I have not been able to say that for years.
You sounded like
And-
Mark Zuckerberg when he was like drinking the water. He's like, it's like I'm nervous.
As I said, this is the first time I've been able to feel good about something in a long time, and I'm
Good.
finally
Enjoy it,
able
buddy.
to
We're
say
happy.
that out loud. and I'm
We're
enjoying it.
happy
Absolutely.
for you. Even
Enjoy
Nick,
it.
minus that one game, but he's happy for you. Johnny, listen. I'm a fan of the bare necessities, huge fan. And I just can't help but notice there's a drastic difference in tone from just 3 weeks ago. So obviously I want to get your take on the game. I'm going to start with a question. Do you think the Bears still should have taken Odunze given the flaws they have at the offensive line? Should they have considered drafting O-line first round? And what are your thoughts on the Colts game?
Well, I'll give you my honest answer. I truly believe that the Bears still needed weapons entering this offseason. I don't think Keenan Allen is going to be on the Bears for more than this year, maybe next year as well. So, you have to think ahead. As great of a job as Ryan Poles has done with this roster construction, it's kind of perplexing as a former offensive lineman himself that he has given so much of like a passing grade to the guys up front when it's clear and obvious the Bears have a severe offensive line issue. Caleb Williams is getting better every week, but on Sunday, I know the Bears Colts is not probably the sexiest matchup on the Sunday slate. That's a game the Bears should have won. The Bears had better quarterback play. They had overall better defense, in my opinion. They dominated time of possession. They had more total yards. They had more first downs. They were better on third downs. How do you lose that game to Anthony Richardson, who only completed 10 passes and he threw for 2 interceptions?
Is that rhetorical? I don't know.
I'm
I really
really
don't.
starting to worry. I think Rome Odunze was definitely his coming out party. He had 6 grabs, 112 yards, and a touchdown. Rome Odunze should have 2 touchdowns. I mean, Rome Odunze dropped a touchdown last week, Sunday Night Football against the Texans. I mean, I thought that was a good ball by Caleb. It hit him right in the hands. But the sky's starting to fall a little bit here in Chicago, and I'm guilty as charged for hyping the team up, for trying to be optimistic that, I think we're going to be relevant. I think we're going to compete this year. Realistically, guys, the Bears are playing like an 0-3 football team because in my mind, they really are 0-3. They had no business being the Titans week 1. Like the Bears are really 0-3. They're dead last in the NFC North for a reason, and they're being coached like an 0-3 team. I talked about
Are you
it.
okay? You sound really.
I'm a little
worried about you.
I'm a little upset because as a fan of this team for 20 plus years, I've just been waiting my whole life, and Chris knows this feeling. I've been waiting my whole life for a competent NFL offense, and we finally have weapons, and we're failing our huge investment of this quarterback. This kid's got talent. Like you guys have seen the talent. You've seen the flashes. You saw what he's capable of doing. And we're failing this kid. Like we failed all the other guys before him. And it's just kind of bothering me because we're putting too much on this kid's shoulders already.
I don't think you're failing him. I don't think you guys are failing him. I mean, you're not winning. You're 1-2, but you're giving him every opportunity to have a long career.
Absolutely.
Like it's not. Yes, this season.
I'm going to flip the script here.
Really
put Caleb Williams on any other successful franchise, and he'd be the talk of the NFL right now as one of the best rookies. And unfortunately, he's on the Bears right now, who, historically, we don't get this right. We've never gotten this right. And I know it's early, and I know it's a long season, but again, a team like the Colts, who are dead last in rushing. Like only the Bears would hire an offensive coordinator that's just as bad, if not worse, than the last guy that was running plays in Shane Waldron. It's just mind-boggling. Also, you guys know I've pounded the table. I'm very not a Matt Eberflus guy. When Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, when the Bears do decide to be relevant again in the NFL and be a contender, maybe once again in my lifetime in the NFC, Matt Eberflus and this coaching staff are not going to be here. It's a rinse and repeat cycle. The Bears had a tremendous opportunity this offseason to pair like a real NFL head coach or an up-and-coming offensive play caller, and instead they ran it back with lame duck Matt Eberflus, who, mind you, is a really good defensive play caller. But you can't tell me that Matt Eberflus is a better head coach than Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, or Dan Campbell in a really tough NFC North. The Bears have the worst coaching staff in the division, and it's going to hamstring this team down the stretch. So big picture, I'm already thinking about I said I think the team would win 9 games this year. I'm already taking that back. I mean, right now they're playing like a 6-win team. And big picture, all that matters is Caleb's progress and Rome Odunze's progress and some small victories here and there. But like I'm about to throw in the towel. Like that's how bad they're playing. That's how bad they're being coached.
Oh, my heart! You're breaking my heart.
It's been frustrating because we've been doing this year after year after year, and nothing has changed. And maybe it's an organizational failure. I'm not sure what it is, but people. We're losing patience here. We're losing patience. This is really an 0-3 football team. Don't let that 1-2 thing fool you. There should be an asterisk next to the Bears right now. We're entering bottom 3 territory right now. Like that's how we're playing, in my opinion. So
let me just ask you a simple question.
I've been there.
If
I
they
know
had
that
pulled
feeling.
out a
I know
win,
that feeling all too well.
if they had pulled out a win against Indianapolis, which they were very close, are you singing the same tune? Like then you're 2-1. You know, feeling good. Like
I'd be feeling a little bit better, but the Colts are a team that the Bears are supposed to beat.
It was a weird game. It was a weird game.
Right. What's really bothering me right now, guys, is like the Bears are in the stretch of the games they need to win. So this upcoming week, we play the Rams without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. The Rams historically don't play well at Soldier Field. I know they're just coming off that really good win against the Niners. I feel like they gave a lot of effort and like a lot of energy to come back and win that game. So hopefully we can catch the Rams kind of on a lull, and then the Bears host the Panthers. But the Panthers have a pulse now with Andy Dalton, so like that's not a guarantee win. And then the Bears go to London and play the Jaguars at a neutral site across the pond. Like who knows what's going to happen in that game?
There are
I know
no
it's a long
winnable
season.
games. There are no losable games. There's just chaos.
No. I know.
I went into the season thinking the Giants' first 2 weeks were the most winnable on the schedule, and now you look at Minnesota and Washington, and you're like,
right.
I don't know.
I'll wrap it up quick here. Here, Anthony, and I'll pitch it to you about the Giants. Just bottom line, I think the coaching is just really bothering me. Matt Eberflus is taking the dumbest challenges, the dumbest timeouts. You know, as a head coach in this league, you know, you need to elevate the whole team, not just the defensive side. Like Matt Eberflus needs to elevate the offense too. He needs to be a leader of men. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but this guy is such a doofus, and I just don't see a world where when the Bears decide to become relevant and competitive again, and maybe a threat once again in the NFC, whenever that is in my lifetime, he's not going to be around. Like it's just a rinse and repeat cycle, and I'm tired, guys. I'm tired of it. And 18 Roma Dunze and that defense, who plays their ass off every week, they deserve better.
Don't give up, dude. Don't give up, dude. Like it's a rookie season. It's going to have painful moments, and if you really are frustrated with the coaching, I mean, you seem to love how they built this team throughout the entire offseason. In my opinion, the biggest flaw is that they went for the sexy names and not the hogs up front. And now you got a rookie who's getting killed. And frankly, it might just be a long year for him to learn and go through growing pains. It could be 6 wins. It could be 9 wins. I'm not willing to think anything about the Bears negatively just yet. I think Caleb Williams actually showed some great stride in his last game. Right, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, Caleb was the first rookie quarterback to throw a touchdown this year. And, you know, the rookie quarterbacks took a little time to get going. I mean, you know, Anthony's got a point where, you know, they took the sexy names versus taking the hogs. I mean, the Jets, everyone's talking, Jets are going to take Brock Bowers. Jets are going to take a pass catcher. They took Olu Fashanu, and guess what? One of their offensive tackles went down this past week. Olu Fashanu goes in at right tackle, and guess what? They're solidified up front still. Look at that.
And then you look at the Chargers, who literally pay none of their wide receivers.
Fashanu or something like that. He butchered his name.
Yeah, that's the guy. But then you look at the Chargers as well. Like they let Keenan Allen go. They let Mike Williams go. They only invest in offensive line, and, you know, they can run the ball. Obviously, it stinks to see Herbert go down, but, like, you know, they were showing, like, hey, let's focus on the core fundamentals of running the football before anything else, and then maybe we'll bring in our sexy names. But the good news is you're young, you're built, your GM can still improve the offensive line, and then you might not even be thinking about the coaching as much when that happens. Don't give up, man. No.
And really quick, I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep going on. I'll wrap it up really quick. I think it just built up frustration because as Bears fans, we actually thought this year, okay, we turned the corner. Now it's time to be competitive. And it just seems like we're going to have to wait another year. That's the way they're playing. We're going to have to wait another year for more help up front, more help for Caleb. I'm not worried about 18.
You might have to wait another 7 years. Look at Geno and Darnold.
18 is the one bright spot.
Coming from me,
you feel my pain,
who has gone through this time after time again, you are in a much better place right now than I've been in year after year when the Jets tried to get the quarterback. All you really need is the offensive line. You have all the other pieces. Even if this season winds up not being a lost season, it's not, because you get that development in those guys, and they looked really good this past week. And you have all those pieces. You have the defense. You have the offensive weapons. You invest heavily in that offensive front in this offseason, whether it be free agents and draft. The Bears are going to make some noise next year, especially when Eberflus is gone and you get that new coach, whoever that be next year. And the Bears are going to make a resounding, bounce back next season. Trust me on that.
One can hope,
So,
my friend. One can
There
hope.
is a light. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, because you have the guy at quarterback, and they will not let him down in this offseason.
Fresh Bear Necessities
Probably not.
podcast is dropping at 3 o'clock Eastern time, 2 p.m. Central. So you make sure you guys go check that out.
I'll bring tissues. It's going to sound like a sad one. Now, listen.
Oh, it's not sad. It's an angry one. There's no
Angry?
sad tissues. It's an
Okay.
angry one.
All right. Well,
I listened to it this morning. It's a big
hearing
event.
you angry might make me cry. I don't know. Might. What's up? What'd you say, Nick? I missed you.
I already listened to it this morning. It's a big vent session, but I think it was a needed vent session for Johnny.
It's
and,
like
and
therapy.
Jack.
Yeah, which is what we're
How
trying
about those
to do.
Giants? How about Malik Neighbors,
How
man?
about him?
I texted you, man. I am not sitting him on my fantasy bench anymore, Mr. Neighbors. I told
Malik
you guys.
Neighbors.
I got
if
so
Caleb
upset when I
Williams
heard
doesn't-
that he was ever on your bench. I was like,
If
what?
Caleb, I just have too many guys. That's the problem. But
Yeah.
if Caleb Williams doesn't win Offensive Rookie of the Year, I said I think Malik Neighbors is going to
Yeah.
be the guy. And so far, I mean, he's delivering the goods.
I was saying Malik Neighbors for Offensive Rookie of the Year until I saw Jaden Daniels. Now I say they're 1A, 1B right now, in my opinion.
It's almost like they were really good together in college football. Listen, I enjoyed the Giants win. Nothing's ever easy in Giants fan world. It's always a barbaric struggle. Whether you're an optimist or a pessimist, it doesn't matter how you are as a fan. When you're 0-2 and you fumble the opening kickoff, and literally the next play is a touchdown to Amari Cooper over who's supposed to be your number one corner, Deontay Banks, who is shown to be struggling against some big names. You again, we'll say it again. It was a Chicken Little moment. The sky's falling. Like, that's literally how it felt. And I think that's the theme of the day, is that when the sky is falling, just don't get hit. That's all you can do, is keep moving. And ultimately, your qualms with coaching. I love my coach. I love Brian Daboll. I know he's absolutely made some mistakes. I know he's not perfect. He screwed up Graham Gano 2 years in a row. But I think it's something to be said about an 0-2 football team on a quarterback that everybody wants to crucify. You lost Saquon to the Eagles. I mean, people are looking to throw mud, and you're down 7-0. Your team could easily roll over and lay an egg. And they responded with 8 sacks, 21 points. Probably could have had 31 points if Greg Joseph remembered how to kick, or if Devin Singletary decided to score at the very end instead of running the clock out. This could have been one of the best offensive games we've seen for the Giants in years. So ultimately, I think it comes down to the fact that Malik Neighbors is delivering. Daniel Jones is showing no hesitation to get him the ball time and time again. Neighbors literally took away an interception that was, a jump ball scenario. And apparently Jones's exact words were, if I throw it to you, if you don't get it, nobody does, which is showing a lot of confidence in a rookie to even put that in that situation. So I want to give a little love to Danny Dimes. I mean, I understand he's not putting up like incredible numbers, but his quarterback rate in the last 2 weeks has been in the hundreds. I think it was 120 this week. If you can protect the football, Singletary needs to stop fumbling. If we can just get away with these dumb turnovers and silly mistakes, if Greg Joseph can remember that he is a professional kicker, I will not get mad at any coach for asking a professional kicker to make a 48-yard field goal. None. Not a single one. It's
Got
just
one
not
job.
right. I mean, Greg Joseph is not like some, like I heard of him. Like when they signed him, I was like, oh yeah, I know him. Okay, good. Like he's a kicker. So that's it. That's the whole discussion. Your job is to kick, and you missed. So it's okay. The Giants responded. Great to see Dexter Lawrence lead the defense, and that was ultimately my biggest concern going into the game. And it's my biggest concern going into Thursday night's game is can the defense keep the offense in the game for those moments where they are stagnant or those moments where they make a turnover. We saw it in Cleveland, but they are very banged up at O-line. Unless Dex and we finally saw some action from Burns and Kayvon, a little more of that. If we can see more pressure throughout the season with just our front four, the Shane Bowen defense is going to be impactful, and maybe the Giants can be in the mix against some NFC East opponents. Maybe Washington's better. Maybe Dallas is worse. Philly, even though, like I said, they're one drop away from being 3-0, Jalen Hurts has a big turnover problem right now. They're more or less being carried by none other than Saquon Barkley. So let's just see how the chips fall on Thursday Night Football. You guys know how I feel about Thursday night. I think it's a horrible product. I think it's going to be a short week, a lot of banged up players. Maybe that can play into the Giants' favor because Derrick Henry literally just beat the Dallas Cowboys to a living pulp. A lot of tension on the sidelines, I noticed, with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott trying to get back into the game, which they impressively did, but they lost. So they're going to be looking at us, and I already know what they're thinking. They're like, this is the get-right game. This is the team that we own. This is the team that we always destroy. And I'm calling on all Giants fans to please take the ashes of your Jones jerseys and put them in something memorable, like wear them around your neck or something. Like, no negativity. Like act like we're a freaking home team, please, because that is what we need to actually believe that we can beat the Dallas Cowboys.
You think
And
it
that's all
took
I got.
Daniel Jones shaving his beard for them to get the magic back and get this
Something.
first win of the season?
Something.
I think it just took literally their backs against the wall. Like it just got to that. Yes, I mean, Jones, he looks very nice, clean shaven. I'll give him that. But
He seems like the clean shaven look fits him more.
It fits his personality more. Absolutely,
Yeah.
he's I don't know. I'm happy with how the team performed. I'm feeling less bad about the Minnesota and Washington losses, but the reality is you're still 1-2 going into a short week against a division rival. So I'm not excited. I'm not sad. I'm just rooting for the Giants. That's what I do, and that's what I think all Giants fans should do. Zero expectations. Love what I'm seeing from Singletary. I think he's playing great, and I think that actually only supports
running
Joe
hard.
Shane's argument that you don't overpay running backs.
Don't do what the Bears did and give DeAndre Swift $8 million a year. He has 68 yards through 3 games right now.
Well, that's not too bad. I'm talking
But
40
who's
million.
counting?
30, no, it's not that bad. I mean, I think the Giants ended up paying Singletary like 9 or 7 or 8 or something like that. Henry
He's running
ended up getting 9. That's what you got to pay a running back. But 37.5 million, like that's crazy. Like I don't care how good you are.
The drum and pass.
Yeah, and Sirianni taking a lot of heat there. I can only hope that the Eagles fall flat on their face. But what does everybody think about the Giants? Are they still dog crap, or are they pulling out of the misery?
I think this is sorry, Chris. I think this
Sorry.
is. I hate that you guys have to play the Cowboys on Thursday night on a short week. Daniel Jones is 1-6 against the Cowboys. I just saw in his
And his
career.
prime. Let's not even talk about his prime time numbers either.
Yeah, it's just I think this is a tough draw. I think Dallas is definitely has a little bad taste in their mouth. I'd like to see Giants compete. I think the easy answer is like Dallas always dominates this matchup. I'd like to see the Giants compete at home in prime time to a team that, historically has dominated this rivalry for the last 10 seasons. I'd like to see New York compete. I'd like to see Singletary continue to run the ball, run hard. Neighbors continue to doing what he does. And, Dexter Lawrence and that defense and Mr. Burns, like, let's go. Come on. Like this is a legit matchup. Like, let's see what you guys are made of. So again, I want to see the Giants compete here. That's what I want to see on Thursday.
Kind of a trap game for Dallas, is it not, Chris?
It's definitely a trap game for Dallas. They're definitely vulnerable right now. They're coming off of 2 straight losses. Especially in this moment and on a short week. You're catching them on a short week after a loss. And Giants want to ride that high of that win, and a very convincing win nonetheless. They bounced back in that game, especially with the way that they opened up. So you got to hope that they take what they learned in that one and how they bounce back there, and they take that momentum and carry it over. Daniel Jones has looked really good, especially when Malik Neighbors is the target. He's got very strong hands. He can take it away from anyone. LSU is looking like wide receiver U right now. It's between them and Ohio State. I don't know which school you guys think is wide receiver U, but I think I'd tip my cap to LSU right now. But Malik Neighbors is definitely looking like he's the offensive rookie of the year, and if he can.
Yep.
If he could cement himself against Dallas in this game, that would make his case even stronger. And if the Giants can pull the upset this week, as I said, if the Giants win this week, don't be surprised if Mike McCarthy gets his pink slip on Friday.
You're on drugs if you think that's happening this week. But
But as Johnny
maybe
said,
later.
as Johnny said, Dallas has really owned this matchup, so it's definitely a tough draw. And on a short week, you don't want to see that. But anything can happen. There's a lot of parity in this league, as we said earlier. But it's something that it's definitely going to be a game to watch, especially with the way that the Giants played last week. Granted, it's a bad Browns team, but that was a very good secondary they went up against. So if they can, mimic what they just did against them, and that defensive front can get a push against them, against that against that offensive line that was definitely struggling to hold back some of the Baltimore defenders, and that run game can do what Derrick Henry was able to do, because Devin Singletary looks really good. There's a chance that the Giants could definitely make some noise this week.
Are you picking them? No, you're not.
I wouldn't say I'm picking them. I wouldn't risk any money on it, but I would
so you
definitely
guys don't,
say
you're
that.
all non-believers. Whatever. We'll go into prime time with nothing to lose, with a guy you all said was a dork who sucked, with a GM who screwed up and lost his running back. I kind of like that we're the rejects of the league now, because that's who we are. We are the underdogs. And when you write us off and you put our back against the wall, that's when we play our best football. So go ahead. Come on. What's the worst that happens? What are we going to lose? 40-0? I've already experienced that. We've already felt that. So let's go.
I would like to see a competitive game on Thursday night. Those short week games against the tough draw, you don't like seeing those, but they got a short week too. So,
Thursday night games are wonky, man. Anything can happen.
I haven't even given my views on what this could be too. So
who do you think's going to win, Nick?
You're lumping me in with this whole writing the Giants off thing, and I haven't even said my piece.
So who do you think's going to win?
I think, honestly, between the two teams, the Giants have the better momentum going into Thursday. And I think they're in the better position to win. And like Chris said, too, this is Neighbors' chance to make the biggest impact on his team, and I think in the league going into this one. So
I think he's going to put on a show. And I think Daniel Jones has been instructed to F it. Neighbors is up there somewhere. Throw it up. That's the attitude, and that's what we want to see.
Worked last week.
That's what we want to see. So this has been a fun show. We're going to work on our time management skills. It's not the best, but we'll get there. Thanks as always for tuning in. This was the fourth episode of season 2 of Next Man Up. It is officially fall. Football season is well underway, and we're almost approaching October, where we have the best sports month possible. So please enjoy it, spend time with your loved ones, and as always, be well.